I'm Mike Coyle, and you're watching Inside Exploration. Today I'm here with Dinesh Kandanchatha, who is the interim CEO and chairman of Windfall Geotek, listed on the TSX Venture under WIN. Dinesh, thanks for joining me, bud.
It's always great to see you, Mike.
Indeed. It's been a while since we talked, though.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer. I think the last time we talked was, end of May, June timeframe. It's amazing that the summer's gone by so fast, but and we've been heads down, and I'm sure we're gonna get to that shortly.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the last time we talked, you were doing a few different things, and I see that you made a recent announcement that you've kind of been advancing your technology. So talk to us about some of the steps that you've taken to advance the tech.
So the nature of this industry is time is super important. The drilling seasons are short, and often, you know, uh, geos are working on their data, and then they're working on it right up until the points where their boots on the ground. And so one of the challenges we had in previous years was the time it took us to process and provide targets. And I'm not proud of these numbers, but originally, like a couple of years ago, it was take as much as 18 weeks from the point at which we received data till the point where we were able to provide targets. And that was a non-starter for me as a technologist, and recognizing the market reality where the companies that can move quickly and move accurately, because they kind of go together, those are the ones that are going to own the market. So we spent most of the summer really investing in the core infrastructure of the application to rapidly increase our ability to provide targets to our clients. And anybody who's been involved in a tech company knows that big things like this, they take time. They require, you got to make sure that you're not only doing what you need to do to move forward, but you're not reducing the efficacy of the application in the process of your architectural changes. So that's what we focused this summer on. And now I am super confident that the tech is in a place where the rate determining step for us in terms of creating targets and ultimately increasing our asset base will be the business development side, not the technology side. And there'll be more on that front as we kind of continue down this innovation path. But our long-term goal, is to democratize AI in the mining sector and the primary exploration sector. And so this is the long-term view. We think that if we can get to that place where we have a strong cloud-based scalable infrastructure, we can encourage all of the data that's sitting in storage units all over the world over the last 100 years to get digitized, and then work with us in order to be able to really move forward exploration at a fraction of the cost of the traditional methods.
It's an interesting take. We'll come back to that in a minute. So you are the interim CEO. Everybody's kind of wondering what's going on. How's your search going? Do you have any leads that are motivating for you?
Yeah, one of the things that to me, I engaged in this business because I believed it was $1 billion business. I want a leader in this business who can take it to $1 billion. And so that means I'm very, very careful. And we have had interest. We've had, multiple conversations, but I haven't yet found that combination of business acumen, technical awareness, and cultural fit. And where I struggle is going quickly and then having to make a change. CEO is one of those roles, like you get one shot at it, right? And if you get it wrong, there's a lot of pain for investors as you try to kind of get it right again. So we've really been focused on the business fundamentals, getting the business to a place where best in class leaders look at our business and go, I want to be part of that story. I want to take that story forward. And so that's building. I would love to get someone in place, but we're not going to rush and put the wrong person in place. The net is the stronger the business, the stronger the asset base, the stronger the people that are involved in the business are, leaders will be attracted to it. And we have some of our best minds on the board and in our customers and our partner community out there looking and advocates for what we're doing. So I'm confident we're going to find the right person, at the right time. But this is going to be an individual that's going to take us to where we all want to go, which is $1 billion market cap.
Excellent. So on that note, talking about developing the business, you made it publicly known that you're looking to move your office to Toronto, but I guess during this whole pandemic, there's a lot of people are working remotely. Do you still have intentions to bring a downtown office to Toronto where people can come by and see what your technology is all about?
Absolutely. So to be perfectly clear, all of our technology folks are in Toronto, in Ontario. So well, that's not entirely true. Most of our technology folks are in Ontario. We are now working across the country. We have technical people across Canada. So we've really structured the business to be remote first. So why is that good for shareholders? Well, think about the cost of a downtown office space. Do you want that money going into building technology? Do you want that money going into acquiring new claims? Or do you want it, in an office that's going to be on tables and chairs and 60, 80, $100 a square foot real estate? So we're very scrappy when it comes to these things, right? And the way we think about it is that we recognize that at least now, it's optional. It may not be optional in the future, right? Because the net is customers are going, once we get through this COVID and the vaccines and all this stuff, people are going to want to go somewhere where they can, sit down with people and figure things out. Is that Toronto? Is it Vancouver? Is it both? We're going to be thoughtful about it. The purpose of an office is not so that our people can work together. We are a team of technologists that are really comfortable in this format, in a remote distributed format. So why do we have an office? We have an office as a place to engage with investors, and an office as a place to engage with customers. And to date, we were only just starting with those customer interactions. We're happy to fly out and meet customers, and we're starting to do that. But the net is that we're going to let the market pull us before we sign 10-year agreements for office space downtown that's going to eat a lot of shareholders' capital, when that capital today could be better applied to claims and to technology.
Prudent money management is always a key aspect and very important in any company. So I appreciate your outlook on that. Okay, let's talk about your partnership with Draganfly. This is something that you signed a $1 million service agreement with them, and then the information on this front is a little bit limited. Can you kind of outline what that service agreement is? Is it focused on landmines, or is it focused on the mining sector? Just
It's a
maybe
partnership
elaborate.
between the two companies, so it's not sector specific. So the benefit with the partnership with Draganfly is all about capability building. So our capability around AI, machine learning for anomaly detection, which is what we do, and what they do, which is around obstacle avoidance around their drones. So it takes a long time for things to get traction in both of the industries we operate in, whether it's public safety or whether it's mining. And they, over the summer, have been very occupied with their uplisting on the NASDAQ. And so, we're a small team at Windfall, right? And we're very aware of the fact small teams can't execute on many things simultaneously and do so well. So what we decided was that, we made the decision that strategic partnership we were going to execute with Draganfly in public safety, and because we didn't have the agreements with companies like Raytheon, Lockheed, all of the companies that do business with the military. They spent their summer, kind of getting I mean, I talked to Cam at Draganfly, every 2 or 3 weeks, and we talk about how we're going to go to market in mining, how we're going to reduce the carbon footprint of data acquisition in mining. We also talk about the landmines and how we can leverage their leverage their contracting vehicles on the GSA, which is the U.S. military government vehicle. So,
Mhm.
those conversations are ongoing. They're in the process of accelerating their go-to-market. They have 4 pillars, one of which is mining, and we are their only partner in mining. So I genuinely believe that, as they kind of come out of fundraising mode and into, all right, the money's in the bank, let's go execute and drive that shareholder value, we're going to see a lot of acceleration from both companies around both projects, the mining side and the landmine side.
So you brought in Mr. Appleton, I would presume, to kind of help with the connections with military and public
Yep.
safety. What has been his effect since coming into the company?
It's a lot on product market fit. One of the things we realized as we brought senior leaders like that in, it's more than just having a great algorithm. So you can find landmines, but that doesn't mean you can put it into the field and have technicians working for military organizations executing on it. And so a big part of the conversation we're having with Steve is around, okay, what is the operational reality in places like Afghanistan and Ukraine and Bosnia, where he spent time? And that those conversations are challenging because, again, it comes back to, for us, resources, right? So we how do you find the right partner who can work with us to go and get it sold, but then get it delivered? So we got to, ship drones to Afghanistan or Iraq. That's not necessarily very easy to do. You've got to have technicians who are trained and who are able to deal with a very technically complex product. So those are the kind of the operational friction. We're very confident the core technology is there and that we'll be able to bring it to market from a tech perspective. We now need to build out that ecosystem of field technicians, of transportation and logistics. And so Steve's working with us on that front. My view is that we are going to find an operational partner similar to Draganfly to help us with the in-field support of the product. But these things, they come together kind of like puzzle pieces. So you start, you build something, you figure out, hey, this thing's going to work. And then you come up to the next hurdle and, oh, okay, well, how are we going to get it sold? Well, we need to find a partner for that. Okay, so you get a partner and you start working. All right, now that once we get it sold, how are we going to get it delivered? Like, how are we going to make sure that people can take acceptance of it and operate it in the field? So that's the next kind of piece of the pie. So as we put these things together, it's my view that we'll be able to well, there's a couple of different off ramps. One is you find somebody that has it all. So maybe Draganfly is willing to build out a services organization, and all of a sudden, you can license, similar how we would license a property or a target, get a royalty, and get that partner to do it. That's one way. You can spin it into its own entity and then raise capital just to be able to fully execute on that business opportunity, or you can continue to kind of incubate it inside the core business until you get to a point where you have something that's really, really valuable. We're not yet fixed on which of those paths we're going to take, but what we're looking to do is de-risk it so that investors are able to extract the value of this asset over the course of the next 12 months.
So Mark Billings was brought in not that long ago to do some data compilation. I think that's really important because my observation is that Windfall investors don't often talk about your projects after the announcement's been made. And, to go and find information on them can be a complex process of research. I know because I do this for a living.
Yep.
When could we maybe expect to start to see some of that data compilation hit your website so that your projects are, maybe put in an easier fashion for people to actually understand?
It's a great question. And you know what? We can take care of that now because Mark's done a bunch of work on that front. And we've gone through the 10 years, almost 15 years of historical data, and we've really extracted everything. And, we have, I don't know the exact number, and, I'll follow up with you, Mike, with the exact number so you can share it with folks. But, we have in the range of 15 projects that we've built, more Okay, you
I
tell me
keep
what the number
track.
is. But it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get homes for all of those projects. And so
Okay.
that's a big part of our initiative, is to, we're really working with these investment groups, and they're global. We
Mhm.
have investment groups in the Middle East. We have investment groups in China. We have investment groups in the US, in Africa, and so what we're there, people are looking for properties. They're looking for properties that have been validated in some way.
Yep.
And what if we could pick the best projects, charge for the ones that we're not so sure of, but pick the best ones and then take a huge piece of those. Um, that's how you create accelerating value for your shareholders.
So you've always, well, Windfall's always been a service contract company or a service company. And you go out there and you get these small contracts and you get a portion of it. But I really like what you guys have been doing lately. You've got your own land claims. You're doing validation of your own. Is this something, so Sebeski, for instance, you guys went out and did a soil sampling program of your own. Is this something that we could see Windfall, kind of transitioning into the Explorer project generator / Explorer? Maybe not where you're going to go and put drills in the ground, but at least do some data compilation, which you obviously do with the algorithms, but doing stuff like soil sampling and ground truthing. Is this something that we're going to see more of moving forward?
Absolutely, because you have to build in value, right? So I can sell raw cotton and I'll get a certain amount for it. Or I can sell, a Louis Vuitton branded piece of clothing,
Yeah.
right? And I get a heck of a lot more value
Yes.
for that versus the cotton or the leather. And why is that? Because people are building in value. And so we're realistic. We're a technology company. So what we want to do, we're not experts in mining. So what we want to do is we want to build in value, close to where our expertise is. So right now, we started out by licensing targets. Okay, well, what happens if you're doing some work on a broad public data set and you find something that is completely off the charts from your perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Do you just license it out and take your 1% or 0.5% or your $250,000? Or do you work on a little bit more, build in a little bit more value,
Mm-hmm.
and then get 3%?
Yep.
Or 20% of the company, right?
Yep.
And so that's really what we want to do is there's only one way you can do that is you keep your costs low, keep your burn light, and you focus on technology because technology gives you leverage. So that's really the thing is we want to be selective about our most interesting projects. And then we want to make sure that we're taking, a larger part of that value mix. And how we do that is we build more value earlier on. So if we sell a target, there's only so much we're going to get. If we sell services, pure services, there's only so much we're going to get. Now, if we sell with a 43101, and then maybe we stay involved with that 43101, and then we do multi-year service contracts so that that eventually becomes a resource. We've seen a very successful model with what Goldspot's done with Newfound Gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about the work that we've done on our technology is we don't have a people limitation on how many of those kinds of projects we can generate. So I'm very excited about this idea of being selective, drive more value into the project so we can have a bigger piece of those companies. Bigger piece of those companies means bigger upside for Windfall shareholders, which has always been the business plan. It's all about asset appreciation.
So as a project generator, and you've been producing some really good deals, maybe highlight some of those deals for us. You've got Ashwanipi, sorry. You
Yeah.
got Chepe, you got Sebeski, three that just come to mind. Maybe talk about how you were able to structure those deals to be in favor of Windfall Geotek shareholders.
Yeah, and so how we structure these deals is there's a couple of components. One is there's the services components. One of the things that we realized was if it's free, you won't value it. So we always have a cash component, and transparently, we don't publish our cash components anymore because it was burning us. When we published it, everybody marked that all of a sudden became our price list. So there's not all projects are equal. Some projects have more data that requires work. Some projects have, don't have data, and we have to go supplement it from different places. So we stopped publishing the cash components of our deals just to prevent prevent our customers from making apples to oranges comparisons. So there's a cash component always, and that's about just us showing each partner that, yeah, I value what you're bringing to the table, and I recognize there's a cost associated with doing this work. The second is the success component, which is around the equity participation. And in general, we try to take, a significant piece of that business. And the reason why that significant piece, air quotes, is important is because it should be meaningful for us, right? So there's good upside, but it should be meaningful for the client as well, because, I want them to use that data. I don't want it to sit on a shelf. And if it isn't meaningful, what's their incentive to use it, right? So there's another component of it. And then the third is the NSR. And so we have a couple of different ways. The reason why the NSR is so important is over time, we will never operate businesses, but there's an opportunity, mines, but there's always there's an opportunity to build these residuals. And the residuals are one of the ways that we really monetize our technology investments. And in general, when we've generated a target where we own the claim, we're able to generate very good NSRs. In the case where we don't own the claim, we still get NSRs, but often they follow a different model, either a buyback model or some sort of smaller percentage. I think that's good, right? Like it's not going to be a one size fits all. To speak to Chappé, a big part of our strategy is to find targets that are close to mines that are either in operation or close to operation. And we're starting to really see the benefits of that with the Chappé project, where just recently there's been some great work done, and there's a real opportunity there. We're very close to a very big mine, and yeah, right, with Quebec Copper, right? And so, these guys are highly focused on building their operating entity, and more power to them. But they're going to get to a place where they're going to look and they're going to go, oh, we've got this mill ready to go. How do I feed it? And this is another example where we can really bring, we can make investments now that can create exponential returns for the future. And I expect we're going to, that's one of the variables when we stake a claim. We're always looking for an operating mine nearby. So those are, and investors have the investment banks and other private investment groups have a very hard time separating projects. How do I know which projects to invest in, which ones to pass on? Coming to a company like ours with validated targets, with the claims in place, with relationships around, with people who are investors in Windfall that are investors in other companies, so they know they have a baked-in investor base, that makes working with Windfall very, very interesting. And so that's the business model. We're looking to, like I said, and we're looking to have every single one of the projects we've done over the last 5-6 years in good hands. And so I'm happy to have anybody who's watching this, or any other senior leader in an exploration company or in an investment company that's looking for a project and wants to do a deal. We're definitely interested in talking to them.
All right, so let's talk about validation. You've got Playfair Mining out there right now. They're drilling on their copper deposit. You've got OreQuest, who's targeting some gold. You guys just did your own validation through MMI soil sampling on Sebeski. What project are you really looking forward to? What should we watch as investors through Windfall's tech? What project do you think shows a lot of upside potential right now?
The biggest one for shareholders, I think, is Grand Pacific, because we have a significant position. They are going to be going public in the spring. I'm pretty confident, and it'll be a full test of our business model, from public data through to AI target generation, through to spin into a private entity, through an RTO into a public entity. This is the business model that, if we can rinse and repeat it 8 times a year, 10 times a year, 20 times a year, I mean, that's how you get to that billion-dollar valuation. Like it's very difficult to do it on a project. You can look, you could strike gold, air quotes, right? And all of a sudden, you have a billion-dollar resource. Absolutely, we'd love it, but that's not something our team has control over, right? Like what our team has control over is tech and deals. So we focus on what we have control over, and we'll let the numbers play. And if you have more projects in the field, you're much more likely to hit a big one, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm very, very focused on the business model and the business process, because that's something I control and that's something I can use capital to scale. And over time, it will result in huge projects. I just don't know which ones. And I'm not going to go to the mineral casino and try to figure out which ones are actually going to turn into massive projects. All I know is that the house always wins. So I want to be the house, right? So if I'm the house always wins. And that's the essence of our business plan.
Excellent. So Dinesh, I've picked your brain long enough here, but I'm going to ask you one last thing. Why Windfall? Why now?
Why Windfall? We are the only only mining company that is a technology company, a pure play technology company. We have the ability to scale without scaling cost. Every other business model that's out there requires the company to add people to add revenue or enterprise value. We've disconnected those things. So that puts us in the same bucket as these incredible technology companies like Google and Facebook, right? So we're not a materials company. We're not a mining company, even though that is the business we're in. That isn't who we are. We're a technology company. There are very few choices in the resource sector that are technology companies. So you might ask, why the resource sector? Well, given our current economic situation and valuations in other sectors, this is the sector you want to be in. There's been a decade of underinvestment in resources, more than that, almost 15 years of underinvestment in the resource sector. And once people open their eyes to it, it'll be too late. Companies like Windfall will be gone because we'll have just skyrocketed because of the value that we've created. So why now? Like the reason, and I'll only tell you, I'd never tell investors what to do. I'll tell you what I did. Why did I invest? I knew the time to invest is when no one's looking.
Yep.
It's not when everybody's looking, because at that point you're paying too much. So you invest when no one's looking, you build up the foundation, and then when the macro trend catches you, it just rises you up. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Dinesh. It's always a pleasure, and I hope we can do this again soon.
That's great, Mike. Thanks very much.
Cheers.